My name is Cate Brown. I'm a photographer in Rhode Island, up in the Northeast. I've been shooting professionally for, over 10 years now. I graduated with a degree in photography as well. And growing up in Rhode Island, we are known as the Ocean State. So I went to school in Massachusetts in the middle of the state, and I knew it was too far from the water. So immediately upon graduation, I brought my new degree and skill sets back to my ocean community, and I built my portfolio and my work from there. So I currently focus on outdoor lifestyle with a specialty in marine-based shooting. So on and around the water for a number of lifestyle scenes. That's primarily my commercial work, but I also do oceanic fine art as well. I do a little bit of a lot. I do a little bit of editorial for a lot of the local or regional magazines here, whether they need a small assignment or some stock. I do online stock sales through a few partners, very select partners that value premium and quality work. And then, the biggest projects are always going to be commercials. And I really do enjoy shooting commercial brand work. So that is really the bulk of my work too.
So, what have you learned so far in your career?
Absolutely. So I went to Fitchburg State, which is a BS, so Bachelor of Science, not a Bachelor of Art. So it was a little unique in that regard. We did a lot of theory of communication. We did a lot of different mediums. We didn't even touch digital until junior year. So there was studio, there was darkroom. Lightroom was just coming out my senior year. I remember that. So we did learn a lot of Photoshop and Bridge. I was lucky having come from classes in high school as well. Not everyone has the opportunity to take classes on photography in high school, both traditional medium and digital. So upon graduating, I immediately realized they did a great job technically training me in a lot of different ways, but I didn't have the best sense of exactly what I wanted to shoot or how to go about being a small business. I did a lot of assisting for other photographers. We had a required internship as part of the program. I was very lucky to join ASMP, the American Society of Media Photographers, that does wonderful work advocating and helping promote education as an industry group for photographers primarily. And I got a lot of wonderful connections from there and more real world experience of what it's like to
Mhm.
be on a set, what it's like to deal with a bunch of equipment or a lot of moving parts, or even just how to communicate with clients. A lot of that, like how to invoice, like I didn't even know what an invoice looked like when I was still in school. So a lot of those business aspects I got immediately after graduating. So it was kind of like forcing myself to continue learning, basically. But it definitely paid off, and I definitely realized early on I was not. I wanted to work for myself. I didn't want to work for others. I had my own vision of how I wanted to shoot. I felt I had enough business acumen to do it as well from a business point of view. I think a lot of people are very skilled creatively or skilled business wise. It's hard to find people who are well balanced in both in order to succeed long term. But I wanted the challenge, and that's it's been over 10 years now. So I'm outdoor lifestyle based, and this sector is becoming more and more saturated too with
Mm.
like adventure travel and whatnot. A lot of people, like the digital age with cameras has really democratized the technology for a lot of people and made it very accessible. So it's about finding what you bring uniquely to the table, right? Um, and it's challenging, but I think a lot of people don't realize how little time I actually spend shooting. Like how much of my time is being taken up with um, the accounting and like hunting down invoices and like who still owes a bill, or pitching, like the amount of pitching that I'm doing or cold emailing that I'm doing and email marketing. A little bit of social media marketing too. I am mostly just myself. I don't have any other full-time employees. I bring on assistants on an as needed basis, even. I don't have any full-time assistants. So it's really just me. And then shooting takes up this very small portion of my time. And the rest of that is processing it and editing it and delivering it and then finding the next gig. And I heard once that being self employed, especially as a creative, is basically being full time unemployed, constantly hustling. And I was like, that's
Mm.
not untrue at times. But when it gets rolling, things tend to come in waves, and then things get really busy really fast. I just had a gig this week that was a couple of months in production and just creative planning we had done early, and then it just took a while for the weather to kind of catch up to us so we could actually shoot it. And I was like 2 weeks ago, I was like, oh, I don't have a whole lot on the rest of the calendar for the next couple of weeks. But literally, as I'm driving to this shoot, I get three more inquiries, some from like past contacts and some from a couple new ones looking to shoot projects. So it really just kind of all comes in at once. It's like, oh, now I'm suddenly very busy. And especially with my work being outdoor based and seasonal in the Northeast, we have a lot of seasons. I really have to plan for a very heavy shooting season in the summer and fall months. Can I line up a project for a winter scene? Will the weather cooperate for that? Because we don't get snow regularly. We're too coastal. And then I just plan a lot of my marketing and business planning for the winter because I won't be shooting quite as much. So aside from like the regular ups and downs, I have these seasonal ups and downs to contend with too. So well, oh, their value extends so much further than I think a lot of people realize. So ASMP, I give outreach lectures for them too. So ASMP is, I think, the longest standing industry group built for commercial photographers. But they do welcome all photography, whether it's more retail or editorial. They just recently merged with NAMPA, the North American
Mhm.
Nature Photographers Association. So they're programming well. It's born for commercial photographers. It can work for any photographers, especially those who are self-employed. Just like learning the ins and outs of what copyright is or what's happening on a legal level, having access to resources in that regard. Just having a network of peers to ask questions off of, because so often we're operating in these little solo bubbles. You know, we don't have
Mm.
office space. I'm in my house right now. Like, we don't have office spaces necessarily with a bunch of other people. Like, once you leave school, you don't have that network to immediately turn to someone and ask a question. Hey, does this sound right to you? Or what do you think about this pitch? So just having that network of people is beyond valuable. And I'm part of the New England chapter. We're one of the biggest chapters, apparently. I just learned that as well. And then the other educational programming, the workshops they put on, they have gear swaps, they have socials. So, and they're really trying to pick up, post-COVID programming back to where it was pre-pandemic too. So I can't speak highly enough to them. And then Wonderful Machine, I've known their name for over a decade now too. And their list of services just continues to grow, like beyond just estimating and negotiating contracts to helping find additional crew, just a la carte help with production. Um, the marketing side of it, whether you're just listed in the directory or they're sending out all these e-blasts and social promos, it's they just do some great work over there for sure. I just used them to help with the website portfolio rebuild and kind of just like get another set of eyes to help me organize how things go on my website. Just the consultation as well has just been great. Um, they're awesome. And yes, I have seen Craddock as a partner for both. So it's nice to be in communities where gatekeeping is not the norm, where it is more
Mhm.
about sharing and taking care of everybody, because just as everyone rises together, it's only going to promote the health of the industry as a whole. Um, Especially with, like I was saying before, the access for higher quality digital cameras right now. A lot of people who are jumping into it, not coming from a background of copyright or education, they're just kind of like really talented behind the camera and they're going to business for themselves. It's the more I try to educate them about what, not necessarily just rates, but like if you're going to negotiate with a client who's a smaller budget client, I have plenty of them too. Always negotiate, knowing what you're leaving on the table. No, negotiate on your terms. Don't give away everything. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater if you can help it. Like, there are tactics to negotiating to make sure that the industry kind of still survives as a whole and that you can still pay your bills. Like, there's a happy medium to be had for sure. And I think everyone would expect someone fresh out of college to probably have lower rates, or someone who's just picking up a camera because their overhead tends to be lower. They don't necessarily have the portfolio. They're willing to take that risk just to kind of build connections and portfolio. But I still try to educate younger people about this might be what you're comfortable charging right now, but just know it could also have this value. And it's not about telling them what you should charge. It's about saying, what are you comfortable with, knowing what the market will bear. And when I was finishing school, the digital age had definitely set in, but the industry didn't necessarily know what that meant for photographers yet. There was still a lot of like, how do we handle rights, especially in the internet age? It was 2011, so social media hadn't really taken off yet. So I'm kind of like learning every couple of years. I think I restructure or redo something in my contracts just to kind of make an adjustment as things change so quickly. I'm personally finding that I tend to package a lot of licenses more than maybe someone who's been in the industry longer than I have. And I'm finding, especially for smaller to mid-sized clients, it is their budgets, even my big clients, all their budgets are shrinking. They need more and more content, but their budgets haven't grown to accommodate that. So they need content from more channels, but I'm able to limit it a lot easier with terms,
Mm.
like with duration, like with the term length. So, yeah, okay, you can have it for all your digital channels for 2 years instead of when they ask for everything forever in perpetuity and all the words that they drop. Be like, all right, what are your actual needs right now? If you don't actually have any print marketing or print ads planned, then let's just focus on what you need to do now with this content. We can always change it down the line. I always try to keep it flexible and show them where you can upgrade in the future, or I'll help remind you when the term limit is ending. I make all of my licenses renewable at a slightly discounted rate than originally to help encourage them to just keep renewing. Um, Half the time, if I ever concede to a perpetual license, is because I know that that content has a shelf life anyway, where they're going to be rebranding, or that style is clothing that sells out after a season, stuff like that, where it's like, okay, maybe you use two of these shots 10 years down the line, but generally speaking, you're really not gonna be. So yeah, I'm packaging a lot based on whether it's print, or a lot of the digital is getting packaged together, but I will use print as like kind of a separate category because people will know if you're hitting print, that is a print license. And then term limits as well. It's really helping keep the budget where they need it to be. So yeah, I can still get work and they can still get what they need out of it. And trying to show them that I'm a resource for them too. I'm not here trying to just like nickel and dime them. It's more like, no, I'm here to help you understand what this means. Because a lot of my clients these days, again, with the internet age, are people who just like had a great idea and started their own business out of the basement of their house. They're not coming with a marketing background or anything like that. So they don't necessarily know. So I really do try to have that extra conversation of education of what this is, try to explain it as best as possible, see where they're willing to negotiate, and show that I'm also willing to negotiate and I'm here to help them understand. I'm not here to hold them back. I'm here to help them fit within their budget and their needs for sure. And I definitely have used photo quote several times just to help get an idea of something that might be outside my norm of what I might need to price out. And my region is a little bit below, I would say, what the software typically spits out, so I can adjust for that accordingly. But it's also a great way. I'll do that, and I'll do sometimes if I just go to Getty, like their stock site, which is a big name, a recognizable name, and I'll try to find a similar image and price it out and show them like here are a few industry examples of what the going market rate is. Here's what I'm willing to do to help you. So it's kind of good to like send screenshots basically of established software or names where they can be like, oh, okay, I'm getting it now.
Right.
Or just explaining production costs. Like it's not just me with the camera all the time, though I do that a lot. It's also like, all right, this is what my assistant will cost. This is what a stylist would cost. Like there's other costs I think they don't know unless you take the time to educate, and it goes a long way. And I think some clients, you can tell pretty early on whether a client really understands the added value you're trying to deliver or if they're really just using you as a camera. And, both are fair. Like some people just really need the shot. They don't necessarily care about all their marketing matching or something like that. And some people really do see the value in partnering with the same creatives long term. So you can find out pretty early on whether they're going to get it or whether they're negotiable and flexible and whether they're the right fit. And I think that's one of the skill sets where a lot of creatives can fail really when they're trying to start their own business, is that there's so much client relations and communication that has to happen, especially up front for a shoot to be successful. And it's really about managing expectations for clients, being so clear and direct in what you can deliver, what's really doable, what might be doable without any guarantees, and what's definitely not doable. And really kind of like, okay, you've got this great idea. Here's how I would go about executing it. What are your thoughts? And if they want to make changes to that, or if they just trust you to run with it, it can really depend. But just communicating as much as possible up front goes such a long way.
you've talked a little bit about how the photography industry has changed, and throughout you've sprinkled in staying in touch with past clients. So can you share a little bit, like, did you have a newsletter, or like how do you
Yeah.
stay in touch with them?
So I have well, really three main email lists I have set up. So because I do a lot of fine art work, that's kind of like the retail branch of what I do, where I'm selling to just people buying things. I have that general newsletter that I'm sending out more like promotions for my fine art. And then I have my photo, like commercial work forward e-blast about once a month. That's just kind of like feature photos, a feature project, hyperlinks to the relevant locations. That's that. And I've got, because of my sector, I have a marine newsletter for all my boat builders and boating and yachting people. And then I have my more general outdoor lifestyle, much larger list, because the boaters, they don't need to see anything besides the boats, and everyone who's in the outdoor sector, they could care less about how many different ways I can shoot different types of boats half the time. They'll see it sometimes, but it's less relevant, so I try to keep that marketing much more relevant to them. So I'll put current and past clients on there, but really for past clients, I'm doing more direct emails. I'm doing the direct follow-ups, usually around March, when the holidays are totally done with. Everyone's kind of settled into their new year, but it's ahead of my shooting season, which really picks up in May more often, especially June. So I try to just give them a nudge, like, hey, it was great working with you on this last project. I might send them like a happy holidays or a thank you at the end of a year as well. And LinkedIn has been a great place, surprisingly, to
Nice.
like get new
Okay. Yep.
clients. I'm hearing from others that it's trending upward for people in the industry, because other areas of social are getting too, I don't know, ad heavy or algorithmic, and LinkedIn is still much more B2B. It's much more people who are in
Right.
need of service. So doing like I schedule feature photo, like shot like a feature photo, who I shot it for, just like maybe a cute little caption. I do that every couple of weeks on LinkedIn. And I'll always try to find either new or existing clients on there and just connect, just to hope. It's about getting content to show up in front of their face as often as possible. My social media, I don't necessarily qualify LinkedIn, because I do that more as my business marketing. Social media for me is
Right.
the social marketing for like people who might not necessarily hire me but are still fans of the work. LinkedIn is
Right.
much more of like my business marketing. I'm get there to celebrate and socialize regarding business, to learn about what everyone's doing and executing in their company sphere, in their personal, professional, not their personal, in their professional life. But yeah, social media is much more about socializing generally with the wide, vast audience that is out there in the world. I have found people that way, that kind of roundabout way. I do a lot of surf photography as well. Not that it pays the bills. I do it more for fun and personal work on occasion. So I'm finding like-minded individuals through, what's the best word? Like, I'm finding like-minded individuals through shared enjoyed experiences and
Nice.
activities. So I'm kind
Mhm.
of finding people who I jive with that way, and then they're like, oh, by the way, I have a business that needs work shot for it. I have a friend who needs, and then I'm finding work that way as well. So just kind of staying active in the community and finding people of similar values out in the real
Mhm.
world, turned around work as well.
What advice would you give to people who are either leaving school or just picking up their camera and thinking, yeah, I think I want to make this a business?
Absolutely. I literally just gave three lectures like this past spring at the college,
Nice.
specifically to pitch AS&P. Kids, if you're still in school, get your AS&P membership while you have student rates. Their current student rate is $25 a year, which is insane. It was like 130 when I started, I think, or somewhere about that. But it's the price of a pizza, and you can get all the access to the industry group that you need. Um, it's really about continuing to look forward, to learn as you grow, to continue to maintain and build your network. It is hard these days. Like, as soon as I get a client, that does not necessarily mean that they hire me every year, let alone every quarter. Like, it's about finding the right people to work with, finding the right support system. You don't have to know everything, but you have to know how to ask the right questions and find support where you need it. And then once you find a client, it's about maintaining that relationship too, to make them come back. But knowing that they're not necessarily going to come back right away, and you have to constantly be still searching and growing. It's about finding what you like to shoot. It's about building a portfolio around what you want to get hired for. Like all these things we hear, or I heard all the time starting out, that I didn't really believe. But now that I'm here, it's like, no, it's all very true. It's about community. It's about staying in touch. It's about the people behind the project. And then, yeah, showing the work you want to get hired for, shooting collaborations and portfolio projects like self-assigned to help build your portfolio. I've got a list of portfolio projects I need to shoot, self-assigned work that I just, sometimes you forget and you're too busy paying bills, but just continuing to stay creative that way and shooting more of what you want, is invaluable, really. There's just so much that it can pay off in the future for sure.
Awesome. You've shared a lot about pricing and negotiating, and licensing. Any like pro tip snippets for the new folks?
Right. Yeah, like I said, my biggest tip is just to educate about how people around you are pricing your industry. And sometimes it's pricing that may have worked in the past, but really what the market will bear is king at the end of the day. Like, even though people have charged something in the past, or you want to charge something, if you are not ever getting clients to pay that, the market will no longer bear it, and you have to adjust accordingly. Adapt or die really is very true to that. But also know that when you're negotiating, you don't have to be a doormat. There are ways to communicate to clients factually and like empathetically about their position while also maintaining your own position. And if you're going to make concessions, know what you're giving up. Um, do it on your terms, and that's really all you can hope for. And hopefully you just find the right people that you like to work for. I mean, I personally, there are people who will take any and all projects, and it's about paying bills, and that is totally fine. That is their prerogative. But for me, I want to find the clients that I want to work for repeatedly. And really nurturing those relationships for me goes a long way. I think there was one thing that I heard, I think it was at an ASMP seminar shortly after I graduated. So it was one of my first few events. And I forget exactly who it was, but it was, I think, a panel discussion. And one photographer said, you have to start thinking of other photographers in the industry as your peers and not your competition. And it was a huge mind shift for me, where it does, because we are all, a lot of us, solo entrepreneurs in this. We are all small businesses, and we feel like we're constantly competing against each other. A lot of other creatives are really in the same boat, and it's just everyone's fighting the same struggles. And the more we communicate and like kind of support each other, the further we'll all go in the end. So you're not necessarily fighting for bids, you're supporting each other, whether you get the bid or your competition really gets the bid. It's only going to benefit everyone in the end if we're all supporting each other. So yeah, peers, not competitors. That's my favorite.